Hello and welcome to the Royal Record here on GB News. I'm Cameron Walker, GB News' Royal Correspondent.
And I'm Svar Nanan-Sen, Royal Editor of gbnews.com.
It's been a very busy start to September for the royal household. A fresh update from the Princess of Wales on her health journey. She has completed her course of preventative chemotherapy. We'll bring you all the details.
We'll also be analysing Prince William's fresh statement that he gave during an engagement in Wales this week.
And it's going to be a busy October for the King and Queen, who will be jet-setting halfway across the world, visiting Australia and Samoa. On Monday, the Princess of Wales released a very personal video message announcing that she has completed her course of preventative chemotherapy. And on the surface, yes, very good news. But also, of course, she's not quite out of the woods yet. And Svar, the video gave a real intimate insight into what she's kind of been going through in terms of her recovery over the last 9 months. And it involved some very special people in the princess's life.
Yeah. So the kind of summary was Kate's journey that we haven't really seen. She said that life can change in an instant, which I think really captured her feeling of how fragile life can be sometimes. And I think when you get diagnosed with something like cancer, it can come as a shock, and to not just you but the people around you. Catherine also said that the last 9 months have been incredibly tough for her family and for them as a family. And the people that featured in the video were her husband, Prince William, her 3 children, Prince George, Princess Charlotte and Prince Louis, and then also her parents, Carol Middleton and Michael Middleton.
And the dog Orla.
And the dog, yes, and the dog. And so it really captured the kind of immediate people that are so important to Catherine. And yeah, the video was actually really emotional, wasn't it?
Yeah, that video is shot by Will War. Let's take a very short look at a clip.
As the summer comes to an end, I cannot tell you what a relief it is to have finally completed my chemotherapy treatment. The last 9 months have been incredibly tough for us as a family. Life as you know it can change in an instant, and we've had to find a way to navigate the stormy waters and road unknown. The cancer journey is complex, scary and unpredictable for everyone, especially those closest to you. With humility, it also brings you face to face with your own vulnerabilities in a way you've never considered before. And with that, a new perspective on everything.
Svar, that video, very artsy, very cinematic, very, very emotional. It's very rare, isn't it, that we would have a video like this shot by or released by the royal family. It was very intimate and showed very close family relationships.
Yeah, it was different to pretty much anything we've seen before from the royal family. You wrote an analysis for gbnews.com this week where you said it kind of showed that Catherine and William are unbound by royal protocol and they're doing things their way, and I think that video showed that they were seizing control of a narrative that at times ran wild through reporting when they were in moments of silence and recovering as a family. So it was very different, but I thought it was wonderful to see, and I'd like to see kind of other intimate shots into the royal family similar to that in the future.
Yeah, they're certainly doing things their way. I think gone are the days of never complain, never explain, which was, of course, famously, unofficially, the late Queen's motto. And I think the public reaction to that video was really overwhelmingly positive. Yeah, you're always going to get the negative people who say it was too cinematic or whatever, but I think on the whole, a lot of people were just so pleased that the princess had finished a preventative course of chemotherapy. But there has been a little bit of confusion since that video was released as to whether the princess is actually cancer-free or not. What we know, what the princess has said, is that she has completed her course of preventative chemotherapy and that she is focused on staying cancer-free. But that doesn't mean that she is currently cancer-free, because from my understanding there is absolutely no suggestion from Kensington Palace that she is either in remission or currently cancer-free. And also the fact that they say that the princess is going to be doing a limited number of engagements, a handful of engagements is how it was described to me, suggests that she still has good days and bad days with her health. And I'm getting the sense that when these engagements, as and when they do happen, it's going to be a bit of a last minute announcement that they are happening, because of course what they don't want to do is announce something in the usual way a week in advance. Okay, you know, some engagements are announced a week in advance anyway, but then she has to pull out last minute, and then of course the media speculation and the public outpouring of panic would just be a little bit overwhelming. And what they don't want to do is the narrative to run away from them again, like it did in March.
Yeah, and we've seen that with the 2 public appearances that Catherine has made this year. I think they confirmed on the Saturday morning that she would then attend the men's singles final at Wimbledon on the Sunday, and it was a similar thing with Trooping the Colour in June as well. So I think that's going to be the case, that we won't know until maybe a day or two in advance when Catherine will make those public appearances. But it's good that she feels that she will be able to before the end of the year, and the fact that she's outlined that in the statement, I think we can safely say that we probably will see her once or twice before 2025.
Yeah, I mean, I know for a fact she's planning to attend at least 2, but there's hope that certainly there'll be more than 2. Those 2 examples are the Cenotaph Remembrance Sunday service at the Cenotaph on Remembrance Sunday in November. She very much hopes to go to that, and she has started, I understand, planning her annual carol concerts at Westminster Abbey for the Christmas period in December. But, as I say, Kensington Palace have not confirmed either of those engagements. I suspect also what the Princess will want to prioritise is her early childhood projects and engagements, because, of course, she hasn't done a external engagement to do with early childhood since 2023. So I suspect that's going to be pretty high on her priority list.
Yeah, and on Tuesday we saw Prince William step out in Wales for an engagement there, and he provided a health update on Catherine following her video announcement on the Monday, where he said that she still has a long way to go. And I think that's important to remember. She isn't cancer free, and it's still part of her journey. Finishing chemotherapy treatment was just one chapter of it.
Yeah, and Prince William was handed 2 get well soon cards from members of the public in Wales when he was doing a bit of a walkabout there, and I'm sure he was pretty touched by that as well. The support of the public, particularly in Wales, of course, a country which he is prince of, isn't he? And it's certainly a country which he wants to deepen the trust and understanding of the people of that country. And I'm sure when the princess is well enough, she will clearly want to go to Wales as well. But my favourite part of the video, obviously apart from the overwhelming, happiness that the princess has finished her chemotherapy, was it must have been a very, very short clip. It was Prince George saying, "Is this filming?" And then the 2 children going, Charlotte and Louis going, "Hello, hello." It was just really lovely to see those 3 children relaxed in a kind of family environment.
Yeah, and something with that clip that I noticed as well was how much deeper George's voice was to Louis, and it just kind of was like, George is getting older now. Like, he's 11. He's obviously soon going to choose which secondary school he goes to. So yeah, they're growing up fast.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to be at Lambeth for another 2 years before he decides where he's going to go. I mean, is it going to be Eton? Is it going to be Marlborough like his mother, or Eton like his father, or somewhere completely different? I guess we'll have to wait and see on that one.
Yeah, and during his engagement on Tuesday, William made a joke when he was handed some friendship bracelets for his children by a member of the public. He said that he'd have to keep them away from Prince Louis because Louis often steals Princess Charlotte's things, which I thought was really funny.
Yeah, and Prince William also said in Wales yesterday that he really wanted to fly helicopters again, because of course he was an RAF search and rescue helicopter pilot, an East Anglian air ambulance pilot as well. So I think he enjoys it, doesn't he? And I'm sure maybe his children will one day, or at least Prince George maybe will learn to fly a helicopter. Guess we'll wait and see on that one.
And speaking of flying, King Charles and Queen Camilla are set for a very long flight to Australia next month, aren't they?
Yeah. Oh, the long haul flight is a hugely long flight. I say that as we'll see whether I'll go and be covering it for GB News, not confirmed yet. But it is the first long haul flight of King Charles and Queen Camilla since King Charles's cancer diagnosis. I think there's two things to say on that. I think it's very clear from the information I received earlier this week that adaptations have been made. So, for example, New Zealand has been canned. That was originally on the cards that he would also go to New Zealand, but on doctor's advice, because of his cancer diagnosis, it's thought that it's not appropriate for him to go there. I understand there's also going to be rest breaks factored into the itinerary, the tour happening between the 18th and the 26th of October, suggesting again that the palace officials want to keep the king's energy levels up. Remember, they're both in their mid-70s. But it's a really tricky balancing act because King Charles is head of Commonwealth, obviously, but he's a head of state in Australia. That is a country which has toyed with the idea of becoming a republic, although plans to hold a referendum on becoming a republic have been shelved. They were shelved at the start of this year. But contrast the King's first visit to Australia as head of state, which is happening next month, to the late Queen's first visit to Australia in 1954. She visited every single state and territory, 7 capital cities, 70 towns, over 58 days. King Charles is going to be there less than a week, and is only going to be visiting Canberra and Sydney. But of course, the Queen was in her 20s when she went, and King Charles clearly in his 70s, and he's got cancer, so you can see why.
Yeah, that did strike me though when we got the details through. The entirety of the tour is going to last 8 days. It feels short, and it is a long way to go. But as you said, I suppose adaptations have had to be made with King Charles' current health condition. But there's still a lot to look forward to there. King Charles is going to meet some cancer specialist scientists to discuss melanoma. So I still think there'll be very many impactful engagements, but across 8 days for both countries, it is going to be a brief tour for how long they're going.
Yeah, and I think Australia in particular, you're going to have the usual suspects of engagements, military engagements, laying reefs at War Memorial, sustainability, culture. King Charles, I'm told, is going to a barbecue, which I'm sure I can't wait to see pictures of that, and as you say, the cancer one. But following Australia, he's going to Samoa first for a state visit. That's something that the British government has asked the King to conduct, where he'll be meeting young people, having bilateral meetings with the politicians of Samoa. And I understand by speaking to a source in the Foreign Office yesterday that it's very strategic for the UK government, these Pacific islands, because they really want to build a big, proper trade relationship between the two countries, focus very much on their priority, which is climate change. But Samoa's priority, climate change, of course, it's a very low-lying island in the Pacific, which is prone to danger when it comes to sea level rises, and of course security in the Indo-Pacific region as well. And King Charles, as the power of soft diplomacy, which he has, a master of soft diplomacy, I should say, is clearly going to be a big asset for the British government here.
And do you think that's why they chose to can New Zealand rather than Samoa? Because I think some people will think, well, why not go to Australia and New Zealand rather than an island like Samoa?
Yeah, I think if it wasn't for the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting, which is happening immediately after the state visit to Samoa, Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting happening in Samoa this year, I suspect it would have been Australia and New Zealand and then fly back. But Charles is head of a Commonwealth, so clearly he needs to go to the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting, and it is in a similar part of the world. And I think, on balance, they had to prioritise what was more of a priority. And I understand the decision was taken in very close consultation with the Prime Minister of Australia and the Prime Minister of New Zealand as well. So it was a mutual decision. New Zealand have not been snubbed by Buckingham Palace or the King. It very much was a mutual decision.
Yeah, and I think at the time we did hear a statement from the Prime Minister of New Zealand saying that, King Charles is always welcome, and that it's a shame for them to miss out on him coming to visit their country as well.
Absolutely, and King Charles, I'm sure, will get a spring in his step for Choggin, Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting. 56 countries, of course, descending on this very relatively small island of Samoa. It's only got just over 200,000 population-wise. The theme of this year is One Resilient Common Future, and I suspect there's going to be lots of climate change and sustainability engagements for King Charles, so he'll be very happy about that. Well, Well, that's it for another episode of the Royal Record here on GB News. Remember, you can keep in contact with us by using the email address royal@gbnews.uk or the hashtag GBN Royal Record.
And don't forget, you can keep up to date with all the latest royal news and analysis by going to gbnews.com/royal or by signing up to the Royal newsletter.
Until next time, goodbye.
Goodbye.